What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 56 of the Sports Blitz. Back at you with another exciting episode on this Thursday evening in this final full week, I should say, of the month of September. And as always, I am Robbie, joined by Doug. Doug, how are you tonight, man?
Doing very well, Robbie. Thank you very much. Very glad to be here. I can't believe it's episode number
56.
Can't believe it. 5-6, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Got some stuff to talk about, man.
Oh,
but hey,
God.
listen, if you're crawling out to hear our show, crawling out of the cave or under the rock, come on out, join us. Welcome.
Yeah,
we're here for you.
Yeah. Hope you you might want to crawl back in after you're done listening, but
Please
definitely
do.
give us a listen in your 1 hour of outside time.
All you get.
Yeah, it's like
Cave dweller.
it's like
Cave dweller.
What's it called? Like a maximum security prison. You only get 1 hour a day of rec time. This is
Cave
it.
dweller thing.
Yeah. Exactly. So tonight what we wanted to do to begin tonight's episode is kind of touch very, very briefly on a team that is mercifully wrapping up their shortened 2020 regular season, and that, my friends, is the Boston Red Sox. As Doug is rocking the heck, keeping up that Red Sox spirit.
In honor of the Red Sox.
I personally am wearing a winter shirt, which does not describe the 2020 Boston Red Sox, although they have actually been better the last week or two of the season, which better late than never, I guess, but
mid-season form, baby.
Seriously. But yeah, it is the final week of the season, and the Red Sox actually, as we sit here, are playing their final home game of the 2020 season against the Baltimore Orioles over at Fenway, and currently are losing 3-0, at least last time that I checked, to the Baltimore Orioles. So, Doug, I guess, again, I don't want to spend too much time on the Red Sox because, we're just going to lead to us being flustered and annoyed and all that good stuff, especially me.
We're going to get flustered and annoyed.
Especially me, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But just sort of, I don't know. What are just sort of give us your thoughts on just this 2020 season as a whole. It started out with a win. It ended with some wins, and in the middle it was just a bunch of crap. If we're putting it bluntly, but just sort of give us in one paragraph or less, just sort of give us your synopsis on the 2020 Boston Red Sox from your perspective.
I gotta follow that.
I think I pretty much summed it up pretty adequately
absolutely.
there.
I don't have to say a word, Robbie. You actually absolutely summed it up.
There you go.
You really did. You summed it up in less than 2 sentences.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't even need a paragraph.
No,
there we go.
Did not need a paragraph.
Perfect.
Less than 2 sentences.
Right.
I will tell you. This is the only good thing that I could think of is that I was glad to have sports back. I was glad to have baseball.
Yeah.
It was nice to see baseball back. That's the first thing. I think with the shortened season, I think with the craziness of COVID, with trying to make sure, and at the beginning of the season, I know there was a lot of talk about whether they could even do it or not. Not just the Red Sox, but Major League Baseball. And having some teams, several guys test positive, have some issues and cancel games and postpone games and all this kind of stuff.
One team had to move their city entirely.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So I think to sum it up is really, I think, what I heard today on sports radio and them talking about this. There's a couple things. The first thing is that I want to see what the next step is. I want to see what they do. I want to see who's going to be, what's going to be for next year. I actually right now want them to lose, because the more games they lose, the better off up the rung in draft pick we get.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps mentioning, is like the fact that they've been winning these last couple of
Stop
weeks
winning.
does
Stop.
not help them in the sort
No.
of getting better regard in terms of draft picks. But
No, start losing. Now, what's interesting is that Sam Kennedy on this morning on sports radio early, and he had said that that they're in mid-season form right now, which is like, okay, great.
yeah, wait till the last 2 weeks of the regular season to get into.
Well, it was a shortened season.
Form.
I mean, it was a shortened season. They only
But they
played.
wouldn't even be in mid-season at this time of year in a regular season.
I know. And again, I totally get that. But again, it's when the season started for them.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to see what they're going to do. I want to see if Chris Sale's going to come back. I want to and
Erod is another.
Yeah, I definitely.
What's going to happen there?
I'm really interested with Chris Sale, because Chris Sale is, with the Tommy John, it takes a year, but sometimes it takes more than a year to get back in. So we'll have to see about that. Who are the starting pitchers? Who are they going to get? Is that the biggest controversy now? Are they going to get Alex Cora back?
Yeah. It's
that's a huge.
Those rumors are still rumbling around out.
They are
there, and it's crazy to me that they are continuing at this level at this juncture. I mean, it's interesting that they're still going on, which tells you that there may be something there behind the scenes that we don't know about, because I just feel like these rumors would have been kept months ago if there wasn't maybe something behind that.
Right. Well, it also depends on Chaim Bloom, whether he has his own manager that he wants to. I don't think Reneke's going to be the manager. I think he's a great bench coach, and he wouldn't mind going back to being a bench coach.
But he got dealt the tough. I mean, he got dealt the tough.
Of course, no, I'm not saying he was horrible. He didn't have a full season. He didn't have his full complement of players.
Right.
So Mookie Betts got traded. So you have all these. I think he did a fabulous job with what he had. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he didn't have a lot of.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot.
He made the best out of a bad situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, you're right.
So,
you're right.
Let me tell you, that's a manager. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not a bad manager. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he was dealt a bad hand, and that's just the way it goes. But rumblings are there about Alex Cora.
Yeah,
still there. Alex Cora was suspended
for 1 year
by Major League
and
Baseball.
It counts. This year does count because they played
for the stuff that he did in
Houston. Yeah, he was not penalized for
Has
stuff.
Nothing to do with the Red Sox stuff.
Yeah.
But if you saw when they parted ways, what did they say when the Red Sox parted ways with Alex Cora?
It was mutual.
Yes.
Which means that there could be a mutual rekindling.
That's correct.
Yeah.
What happened during that conversation?
It was amicable or whatever it was.
Do your year, we'll reevaluate when your year is done. When our year is done.
Yeah.
When Major League Baseball's done, we'll reevaluate.
Let me ask you. I'll give my take on this as well.
Yeah.
Would you want Alex Cora back as Red Sox manager? Would you take him back if that's in fact the road that they decided to go?
That's a great question, and my answer is yes.
Same here.
I would absolutely take him back.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
I think.
I'm not sure if he will actually come back. I'm still unsure on that. But if he did come back, I would absolutely welcome him back.
Yes.
I think he's a great manager. I think he's a good manager. I mean, he won a World Series here. He did some great things here. Yes, people are getting sort of clouded with cheating, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, he did some, like I said, he did some really great things here, and there's no denying that. So,
Right.
do I think he will come back? I don't know. I mean, I think it's
Depends on whether Chaim Bloom has his own guy.
right.
And it's possible, when you have, new general managers, sometimes they have their own guy that and
Right.
that's fine too. I'd be interested to find out if there was a guy that he was, or if he's got a guy and maybe he's, kind of weighing both kinds of situations. I would accept him back in a heartbeat. I don't have an issue.
Yeah, now I'm kind of circling back to an earlier point that you made here really quickly before I sort of go in to the 2020 Red Sox offseason, looking ahead to 2021. But I'm curious your take, because we've talked about a couple of times, you just talked about earlier, how surprised were you that that the 60-game MLB season actually was completed on time in 2020?
Say that again.
No, I was curious to your thoughts, sort of looking at how the season started with all the positive tests and all the postponements and stuff like that. How surprising was it to you that they actually were able to get through the full 60-game season?
Oh, I was very surprised.
Same.
I was when they started having.
I thought it was.
I think it was the Marlins. Did the Marlins? Was it the Marlins that had that issue? That issue with 7 players or something like that.
That was what a way to come out of the gate.
Yeah, I will tell you, when the Marlins had 7 players that tested positive,
I thought it was dead. I thought it was dead in the water. I thought it was dead in the water. Yeah, and Manfred even warned us, like, I won't be afraid to shut this thing down. But yet somehow, some way, they managed to keep it together, which I think shocked a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah, I think what it was is they figured out a kind of like a system. They're like, okay, well, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this to be safe. If I don't do this, I may not play. So I'd rather do this and play than not to play. So I think that's what they did. That's what I'm hearing that they did in the NBA bubble. Same kind of situation. They have to keep themselves as busy as possible, but still doing their routine. They have to set up a routine, and the routine you have to make sure that the routine is okay. And
by the way, speaking of bubbles, they're kind of going to be putting themselves into a little bit of a bubble situation for these upcoming playoffs. I know that the first round series are going to be taking place in the higher seeds ballpark, but after that, I think it's Houston and Texas, or Texas and California. One of the California teams are actually going to be hosting the sort of like an NHL and NBA kind of a bubble scenario for those second and third and then World Series round series.
Yeah, I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
because I think they have the idea of what a bubble is.
And it works. They've seen that it works.
It does work. It does work. Yeah. And I think what they wanted to do was, and Lou Merloni brought this up early in the week. He said the reason that they're putting bubbles together, which he loves, the reason is because you can't make up these games.
Yeah.
This is different. These are difficult games to make up. Yeah. If you have 3 or 4 people that test positive on one of the playoff teams, you're supposed to do that. Wait. How are you supposed to do that?
Yeah.
You can't. So that's why you got to stick them in a bubble, because it's getting to that time where you just got to crack down a little bit. And there's less teams. So
it's much more doable. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great idea, because I think they learned from the NBA bubble, and they learned what to do and what not to do, and they have protocols, and they have their things that they're going to set up. They're setting them up now, and everybody's going to go there. That's in the playoffs, and it's going to continue to be safe. I'm not saying 100% safe, but it's going to continue to be safe.
Now, looking ahead, sort of to this upcoming off season and sort of to the as we sort of begin to look ahead to the 2021 Boston Red Sox here briefly. My first question for you is sort of a two-part, sort of quick hitter set of questions, so to speak. No pun intended. I know, yeah, seriously. Just get out the tomatoes now. I can handle it. Hold on, yeah. My sort of part A is what, for you, Doug, what would be sort of one, if you had to make one sort of big prediction for one thing that's going to happen for the Red Sox this 2020 off season, what would that prediction be?
That's a really great. That's a great question. Wow, great question. I think there was some hints by Sam Kennedy. Not too many hints, but he was kind of leveled off, and he always does that, especially when they're in this kind of season. Why would you say anything? He was like, "Oh yeah, we're always looking to improve the team," and the general line that presidents or general managers use to describe not just the season but what they're going to do in the future. They have no idea. The first issue they have is budget. No idea what the budget's going to be. So right now, especially right now, because they're not finished with the season yet, so they have no idea. What I'm thinking is I think that there are two things. Oh, actually, there's one thing. I think Alex Cora is coming back. That's my one prediction.
Okay.
I had a second prediction, which I think they're going to get another pitcher, but I think Alex Cora is coming back.
Well, it's interesting you say that because my one prediction was going to be kind of along those lines as well. And that is that I believe that there will be a new manager for the Red Sox in 2021. I don't necessarily know which way to sort of side on who it's going to be, but I do agree with you that I think, as valiant of a job as Ron Renneke did with sort of what he was dealt for this 2020 season, I do think the Red Sox will make another managerial change as we head in to 2021. Again, don't know who that's going to be, but I do think that there will be some movement there for sure. So definitely on sort of the same page as you in that regard, in a sense. My other sort of question, sort of part B, is if you had a sort of wish list of 3 things for the Red Sox in this 2020 offseason, again, looking ahead to 2021, what would those items be?
I think they would be the same 3. No, I think they'd be the same 3. I think it's pitching, or pitching. That's just
valid.
My personal opinion.
That's very valid.
I just more often than not when they announced was, unless it was somebody that I have already heard of, some AAA or mostly AAA or not even AA, but mostly a AAA guy that I've heard of. And not too many people that they picked up this year, which is not too many anyway. I had no idea who the heck he was. So to not know who the pitcher is, it makes sense because of the shortened season and because of some injuries and because of this and that and the other thing.
Right.
I get it. But when I, turn on Joe Castig and all of a sudden he's like, I have no idea who this guy is. This is his all of the pitching stats. And he has no idea who the guy is. Then I get a little nervous. Get a little nervous about that.
Maybe,
so
maybe,
my thought is that I think And I think there's going to be some guys coming back, which is going to help from injury. Sale being one of them, hopefully. They said that he's ahead of schedule right now, which is great. That's what Sam Kennedy said this morning, but there's no real timetable right this very second, except for the fact that he's ahead of schedule, which is good. But I just think pitching's the most thing. The other thing I thought about that came to my head as soon as you asked the question was trying to lock in some of these younger players. One of them being Devers. I just think that that's something that I think is so not necessarily positionally, but that's definitely pitching one and locking in somebody like Devers is, I think, super important, because I think on a winning team he would have a different attitude. And he had a different attitude on a winning team. So you know that. It was tough for all the guys. And it makes sense. It was a tough season. He's young, and he has to learn how to deal with those times that he's not going to hit the ball for full, that he's going to make errors in the field, like throwing the ball away, which is not necessarily like him to do something like that, except if his head's not in the game. So it's one of those things where I think definitely pitching, that's number one. Definitely lock up Devers. And I think the third would just be pitching for me. It really is. Yeah. I just think if you've got a solid pitching staff, I think the other thing is to really think about trying to get a closer. I know.
You don't like Matt Barnes as the
you and I have 12 discussions about Matt Barnes. We've had many a discussion.
I can't stand Matt. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice fella, but I cannot stand Matt Barnes as a pitcher, or especially as a closer.
I would like to find, like we found before, okay, a definitive closer. Not somebody who's proven
too. Someone
exactly
capable.
Not somebody's going to bring you from seventh inning to eighth inning. I don't need that. We need those people. We need those pitchers, but we don't need a closer to do that. Unless we may need that. That's fine. But I'm not talking about the mid relief. I'm talking about finding an absolute closer that comes in the ninth inning, comes in the eighth inning even, and just throws bullets.
Yeah, gets the job done.
That's what it is. So that would be my third. Okay. That would be my third thought. Those three definitely.
I'm in complete agreement with you.
Well, I was just going to ask you what you thought.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think sewing up the pitching situation, definitely, trying to lock up the lineup, the positional guys, and also the figuring out the manager situation. I guess if I think my sort of third thing is figuring out the manager situation, whichever way you're going to go on it, and really, committing to somebody, long term to manage the ball club. I think the pitching is the most important, though. I think the pitching is sort of the top list, because you saw how pitching just, crippled us this season. I mean, both starting and relief pitching. It was, it was not one or the other. It was both that just had consistent struggles. The only thing they were consistent about is that they were inconsistent. And it just was very, very tough to watch when it came to, this team, and, trying to get behind this team when, just every single night, you're down 4-0 before your team even comes to bat, or whatever the case may be. It's very frustrating. So definitely the top of the list is, like you said, is the pitching 100%. So my last, again, as we wrap up the Red Sox here, move on to more pleasant topics. Yes, inconsistently inconsistent. I think you spelled inconsistent wrong, but that's okay. By the way, for the folks who are wondering what we're talking about here, we have the chat going tonight where Doug and I will type in random things depending on what we're saying during the podcast itself. Robbie and I, like Doug just typed in Robbie and I, and so we will repeat those things during the broadcast. If you hear us just sort of saying random things, like I'm just going to type here random things, that is sort of what that is about. Repeat, yes. Repetitive repetition. So that was pretty good. So here's my last Red Sox related question to you, Doug, and it's the $1 million question, but you don't get to win $1 million. I'm sorry. I know you're heartbroken over that fact.
Put it on the table, man, unless you're going to give it up.
When the 2021 season begins next April, hopefully, who will be the number one starter for the 2021 Boston Red Sox?
That's a good question. Number one starter. That's a good point. Got it. Not two, not three, but one. I think the number one starter is going to be. I think it's going to be Chris Sale. I think he's going to go out whether he has an arm or not.
One arm.
That's just my. No, I'm just saying that's my opinion. I know it needs some arms. Pitch.
Hey, it worked for Jim Abbott, so might as well.
Yeah, you never know.
I agree. I think that was gonna be my answer as well. Is Chris Sale? If he, assuming he is back and healthy and continues to be ahead of schedule, like you so aptly put it, I think that I would definitely give the odds to him in terms of being the number one guy in 2021. But obviously, a lot remains to be seen there as we begin, like I said, to look ahead to the 2020. He's going back. He's got it. Yes. A little Chris Berman reference there with the back. I like it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So moving on from the
sorry, Robbie. Just get the Red Sox update. It is now 6-0.
Yep.
Red Sox are losing.
I was not going to mention it, but yes, the Red Sox, after beating
I mention it all the time. Lose.
The Orioles 9-1 last night, are down 6-0. Yep. So moving on from the Red Sox to what is definitely a more pleasant team of the Red Sox, but right now is giving us sort of their own dose of frustration. So that is the Boston Celtics, who are currently involved, in case you haven't heard, in case, like we said, you've been under that rock. Lose, baby. Lose, baby. Boom, 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 boom. A little vanilla ice.
Now I know why you're in talk radio.
Yeah. What was it? But the Boston Celtics, who, like I said, are currently in the Eastern Conference Finals and are currently trailing the Eastern Conference Finals 3-1. Before we get into the series sort of as a whole, sort of from our last episode, which was during Game 2. Game 2 is going on while our last episode was going on. Before we get to sort of where the series stands as a whole, I want to jump right into Game 4 last night, aka the most frustrating professional basketball game I may have witnessed in my lifetime of watching professional basketball. And when I say the most frustrating, I mean the most frustrating Celtics performance that I have seen in my time as a Boston Celtics fan. They lost, well, was it 112-109 to go down in the series, 3-1, put their backs against the wall. And last night was just a game that basically made you want to throw your television out a window, or put a fist through it, depending on what the situation was.
Depending on how violent you want to get, Robbie.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not me. I personally do not partake in
Robbie
that
doesn't
type
do that.
of behavior.
Robbie just throws things at the TV.
Yeah, seriously,
A couple baseballs in his phone.
I have like 4 broken remotes, just sort of sitting around. Yeah, but game 4. I was like, boy, it was sort of one of those things where you saw glimmers of where the Celtics team should and could be, and then the rest of the game just made you just shake your head and go, what the hell is going on? It was a Celtics team that continues to, for whatever reason, throw up 3-pointers just for kicks, even though they cannot make most of their 3-point shots. It was a Celtics team that continuously turned the ball over. It was a Celtics team that apparently decided that it was not worth it to guard 3-point shooters in the corner or on the outside. And it was a Celtics team that basically let Tyler Hero explode and turn into the next Peja Stojakovic from outside, deep reference, going for 37 points in the Heat's game for victory. And it was a tough one to watch, because they at times were really fought and clawed their way back into that game, and then right when they would get to sort of the precipice of completing the comeback, they would go back into the things that had gotten them into that hole to begin with. Precipice. Yeah, I speak words. I went to the
big word, Robbie.
I went to the dictionary tonight. The thesaurus, It's kind of funny. I can say precipice without an issue, but apparently thesaurus is becoming a tongue twister.
Is it becoming a problem?
Yeah. Can't say the word thesaurus. Say that 3 times fast. Or don't. Probably better to not attempt that. But anyway, Doug, let me turn over to you. Your reaction to what was game 4 of the Celtics Heat series last night. No words.
I'm shaking the head, man. That's what it is. Yeah. Shaking the head. These guys don't know how to close.
Well, last night they didn't know how to start or close.
I think, and I'm gonna just throw this out there, because somebody just, I think, hit it right on the head this morning, right on there. And I think that the issue that they have is that, and it was actually Jermaine Wiggins who said it, which is unbelievable, because he's so. But it totally makes sense. And what makes sense is that when Michael Jordan was around and he won all those championships, he had a guy named Scottie Pippen. Yeah. Right? Scottie Pippen, very good player.
Oh, yeah.
In his own right. But they couldn't win without each other. It was very difficult.
True.
When Michael Jordan left, and then initially left and then came back, Scottie was pretty good, but there was no Michael Jordan. I have a feeling that Tatum and Brown and Marcus Smart a little bit less, but those 3 guys, and Kemba, they all want to be Michael Jordan. They don't want to be Scottie Pippen. So if they all want to be Michael Jordan, they're all looking to throw up threes and get them in and be the hero. You can't do that. You have to in this particular sport, have to work as a team. Not that you don't have to work as a team in other sports. What I'm saying is that you have to work as a team, and you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing. The other thing on the other side is that the Heat. This is like game one. Game one, they went into zone. Zone defense.
Celtics can't handle the zone. Celtics cannot
They should be
handle.
able to break the zone. It's not that difficult.
They seemed like they were able to
out.
break it in game 3, but then for some reason in game 4 they went back to their struggles with it.
Exactly. And I don't really know why. I mean, there's no real answer to that question. And Brad Stevens is the only one that has the answer to the question. Now, do I think this is Brad Stevens' fault? No. Brad Stevens does not play in the game. That's the first thing. The second thing is that
that'd be interesting to see.
He comes out. No, that's true too. He comes. I think he comes. He's gotten them here, and he's gotten them here on purpose. And the issue is that they all want to be Michael Jordan. They can't be. They have to work together.
Yeah.
To win the game together. They can't be, oh, I'm taking the last shot. Oh, no, you should give it to Kemba. Give it to the guy who's hot shooting. Or you give it to a guy that they're not expecting, who also can shoot.
It's interesting because at some points sometimes I feel like their problem is that they're too trigger happy, so to speak. But at other points,
that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly, and I agree. But I think at other points, sometimes they can actually be too passive, where they're just. It's driving me crazy that they'll be.
It's almost like they don't know what they're doing.
They're passing the ball, 3 or 4 times just around in circles, and it's like, what are you doing? Somebody shoot the damn ball
or drive. I don't understand. And you and I were texting. I think it was the first and second game. You and I were texting back and forth, I think, and we were talking about. I was saying I'm constantly trying to figure out, and I know this game is different. Yeah, I understand. I get it. The issue is that if you're down by 10, what do you want to do? You want to drive into the basket, which, by the way, is Kemba's specialty.
Exactly.
Kemba's specialty, Brown's specialty. Tatum does it all the time.
Yeah.
Why aren't you trying to get fouls?
Exactly. That's
why are you shooting from outside?
For at least the last 2 seasons, Doug, is that this Celtics team, we've been talking about this nonstop for the last at least 2 years, is that why don't you attack the basket? At the very least, draw some fouls, get yourselves to the line. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me when they start settling for threes and start, they're going 3-on-1 down the floor, and Marcus Smart decides that he's going to stop and take a 3 from 6 feet behind the 3-point line. Attack the basket, drive, dish the ball off. Like I said, it is very, very frustrating when then you see them do it. It's not like they haven't shown that they could do it. They've shown that they could do it many, many times. And so to see them demonstrate that ability and then not use it, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why? Why is this happening?
Bobby, this is fundamental basketball.
Yeah, you and I could teach
it's not necessarily the NBA.
You and I could teach a team of 10-year-olds or 9-year-olds even how to attack the basket in a game. At the very least, draw fouls. You're right. It's fundamental basketball, and I don't know what it is. Are they afraid just because they're smaller than other teams out there? Are they afraid of taking a chance? I don't get it. I just don't get it all. I haven't gotten it for the last 2 years, and this is why they cannot get up to the next level, is because they are not taking the chances that they need to win these big high-profile games. And it's infuriating because they can do it. Again, they are capable of doing it, more than capable of doing it. But they for whatever reason, they don't show that killer instinct when it comes to playing that type of basketball.
Yeah, no, I'm dumbfounded. I don't understand it. And when they play in the way where they're driving to the basket, getting fouls, they're also shooting threes and some mid-range jumpers. They're doing all of that together, and they're playing D, and they got the whole game together. They win. They win the game. I don't understand why this is like. Again, Robbie's right. We've been talking about this for 2 years.
And it's interesting because they came out in game 3 and looked like a completely different team than we had seen in that series. They played, more of a complete game. They were attacking. They were making plays. They were able to close game 3, which was a welcome sight. And we thought maybe that they turned the corner, and then all of a sudden, fast forward to game 4, and it's basically going back to what we saw in games 1 and 2. And I guess here's my question, Doug. I'm curious to get your take on this, because obviously one of the differences between sort of the other rounds of the playoffs and even the first few games of this series was that there was a pretty substantial time off in between games 3 and 4. Your game 3 was played on last Saturday night, and then game 4 was not played until last night, Wednesday. So I guess my question is to you, I want to get your take on this. What impact do you think that long layoff had on how the Celtics performed in that game last night? Did it sort of quell any momentum they could have gotten out of that game 3 victory if maybe it had still been, one day off and then game 4 on what would have been Monday?
Yeah, it was kind of a strange thing.
Well, it was TV. I mean, we all know the reason for it. It was.
I get it. My take on it is I don't think that would have affected them in any way. If anything, it gave them a little bit more time to rest, heal, and body needs to, after you a game like this, your body needs to heal a little bit and to rest, and gave them the ability to kind of take a little bit of a hiatus and kind of get away from the game a little bit. But I don't think you should come back and play the same way.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense not to play the same way. And whatever's working, you need to do. Don't go away from it because you think you're supposed to, or you think this is the NBA, we should play it this way. No, go back to fundamental basketball. Red Auerbach always said, fundamental basketball wins games. And that's the way it goes. If you watch the Red Auerbach basketball team, you will notice, they pass the ball. Yeah, they take shots when they're open and stuff like that. But it's all fundamental basketball. All of it. Fundamental basketball. Especially in the 80s when he wasn't even coaching. You watch Larry Bird. Fundamental basketballs. But a winner knew how to win. Kemba, I don't know, Robbie. Kemba has not. I think he's still hurt because he's just tentative. He's tentative. He doesn't seem like himself.
He's inconsistent.
He's very inconsistent. And to tell me that he hasn't been there and, oh, my God, maybe he's nervous and, well, he's a veteran. Well, why he's a veteran player?
Yeah.
He needs to take one game as just a game.
I think it's the injury issue.
I think he is too. I think he's injured.
I think
he's not 100%.
No.
And
I think he's playing through it, but I definitely do not think he's 100%.
There's no way he can be because he's not playing like Kevin never has played or that we've seen.
Yeah. All right, so now here here is the big question. On a day where listening to Boston sports radio, I would refer to today as the wake for the 2020 Boston Celtics. If you are listening to Boston sports radio today,
I was all day today. Unfortunately,
here's my question 1A and 1B of this big question. Question 1A is will the series end tomorrow night? Will the Heat wrap this up tomorrow? Will the Heat wrap this up tomorrow night? It's tough. It's like, do you go with your heart? Do you go with your head? Do you go what do you go with here?
It's a very tough situation.
I know.
I will tell you this, and just like we just talked about, they don't go back. Fundamental basketball, the way they played, and they won their only game.
Yeah. If they play like game 3, they have a chance. If they play like game 4, it's over. Might as well close the coffin. It's done with.
Absolutely. I hate to say it, but my heart, I want them to win.
Oh yeah.
But this would be so cool if they were just to win and take that momentum into the next game. And then actually come back and tie the series and go 7. It would be unbelievable. And I would say that if they, and I'm going to tell you this, and this is another prediction. I'm not sure if this is your second question or not, but if they win tomorrow, and they play the same game they played in their win. Yeah, they played before. They got a bigger chance now.
And I think that's why it's so hard for me to, give up hope, is because I know what this team is capable of. And I know that on paper they are better than the Miami Heat. And so
I think they are better than.
That's why I'm holding on to even just the littlest sliver of hope that they can make a comeback in the series. Because I feel like if any team is going to do it against an opponent, it's this Celtics team against this Heat team. But you're right. They have to revert back to the way they played in Game 3. Because if they don't do that, then you might as well call it a day.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Like I said,
and in Game 3, they didn't win by a couple points. Game 3 was 117-106.
Right.
Okay, that was a big win.
Right.
That was a big win. That wasn't like a couple points and it came down the last, and they didn't go into overtime.
So that's why, unlike the Bruins, I am not quick to call this series over, even though it's 3-1. But it's going to be very tough. There's no question. I mean, basically, your back is against the wall every single game from here on out.
And Robbie, you have to admit, it was just a matter of time where Tyler Herro just freaking went out of his mind.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Played out of his mind.
It was an amazing performance.
Unbelievable. Out of his mind. Totally crazy.
So here's
the only
part.
Other,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just going to say the only other. I don't want to say the guy's name wrong. The only other issue is that there's a possible hand injury for the
Miami center.
Adebayo.
Yeah, but I think Spoelstra. I think what I heard this evening was that Spoelstra said he's going to be okay to go tomorrow. But again, will that be a factor in how he plays? It remains the question.
Did he tweak it, and can he tweak it again?
Right.
Or is he, or was just a minor something?
So the second part of my question though was, and again, this is a hard one to answer. I know, because again, do you go with your heart, or do you go with your head, or do you go with your heart here? Fairly misidentifying body parts, but we're just gonna roll right past that one.
Depends on where your heart is, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in your head.
Sometimes it feels up here, I don't know. It's what percentage would you put on the Celtics' chances to come back in the series? Honest sort of percentage chances here. Again, it's tough. I get it. Believe me, it's tough for me too because again, it's sort of what do you listen to?
I'm going to tell you the first number that came to my head, and then I'm going to tell you the number that I think. The first number that came to my head is 40.
Okay.
But I think reality, I give him a 50%. And I think that's high.
I hate to say this because again, it's sort of I'm gonna throw out my head number, even though my heart obviously my head number is 30. I'll be
Right.
completely honest. My head
Yeah.
number is a 30%
That makes sense.
chance that they are going to come back in the series. My heart, I would say, gives you more, like you were saying, more 40 to 50% chance. So it's even not that much higher. My heart and my head are not really that far off with each other. But I would say if I had to give sort of an educated prediction,
Right.
an honest prediction, I would say 30%. So
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And the Red
Mine
Sox
was 40.
and the Red Sox are now down 7-0. So
Yes.
there you go.
Lose Sox, Sox lose.
But it remains to be seen. Obviously, a big game tomorrow night. Winner go home. Who knows? Next week when it's funny to think that next week when we talk, Doug, the South, a lot of things could have happened in this series. We could be, depending on when we talk, we could be staring down the barrel of a seventh game. We could be talking
That would
about
be awesome.
The Heat wrapping it up, or we could be talking about the Celtics, pulling off a miraculously 3 wins in a row and now moving on to the NBA Finals. It could go. The topic of conversation could be a whole wide range of things come next week for episode number 57.
Tomorrow we'll see.
We shall see. One game at a time, as Bill Belichick always famously says. And speaking of Bill,
He doesn't
Belichick,
say a lot, but he does say that.
Speaking of Bill Belichick, I kind of touched.
Hey! I'm moving on. I'm moving
We're
on to Sunday.
On to Las Vegas.
On to Las Vegas.
Yeah. But speaking of Bill Belichick, and again, I kind of threw that in there for the segue itself. The New England Patriots, we talked last week after their opening week victory against the Miami Dolphins. And then last week, the Patriots went on the road. And you and I both said, Doug, before that Seattle game, that we would be a bit surprised if the Patriots were to come out and pull out a victory. Now, they did not come and pull out a victory, unfortunately. They did fall 35-30. However, I think you could honestly say that the team showed that team and the way they played and the way they stayed right with Seattle right up to the very play. Exactly. However, that they showed a lot in the positive in a loss. I know there's not, as we were talking about off air, there's not, necessarily 8-0 Baltimore. There's not necessarily a good loss, so to speak. But I think that you can be shown a lot about a team positively, even in a loss. And I think, honestly, the Patriots showed that. I was very impressed with the way that team, fought and battled in that game. And the fact that, they were basically 1 yard away from pulling out a victory in Seattle on Sunday night, which honestly, if you had told me that at the beginning of the week, I would have, first of all, said, I'll take it, and secondly, thought you were a crazy person because I'll be completely honest, that my head did not expect that at all heading into that week 2 matchup. But I guess I kind of want to start there, Doug, is just overall takeaways from what was a thriller and Sunday Night Football Sunday night in Seattle.
I'll tell you, Robbie, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I did not think, I didn't really know what to think, but I didn't think, knowing Seattle and knowing how good a team they are, especially defensively, I had no idea that the game was going to turn out to be the way it turned out. You're right, they did lose. Came up to the last minute. But
By the way, we're gonna get to the play calling here in just a minute, but
yeah, I'm sure.
I'll let you finish.
I'm sure. But I think it was it was an incredible game. It was an incredible game.
Oh yeah.
And I know
I was on the edge of my seat.
I know it was a loss, and I totally get that. But I'll tell you, if you could. And again, Cam Newton said even today, he said, a loss is a loss. It doesn't matter how many yards you throw. It doesn't matter how many yards you run. It doesn't matter how many yards your receivers get. It doesn't matter about anything. The only thing that matters is win or lose. And they lost, and they take it as a loss. And I get that. But there were so many positives that came out of that game. Absolutely right. So many positives about Cam Newton throwing the ball. So many positives about he's making this into a totally different experience than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I didn't really have too many expectations, except for the fact that I knew he was just hurt. You know, he's a little bit older, and I thought he was going to come in with some swag. To use some crazy term.
Maybe a little bit of a chip.
No, I just meant, I knew that. I knew there was going to be a chip. I knew that there was going to be that.
It was going to be this much.
But I didn't know that there was going to be, I thought that it was going to be, yeah, I'm great, I'm cool, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden he falters. He hasn't done that at all. He has stayed level. Even when he speaks, he's staying level. I heard him speak today. He's very level-headed.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's saying. Interestingly enough, they actually asked him a question, which makes sense. The question makes sense, is whether he thinks that they should, add a receiver. And he said, our receivers are in the locker room. We got Edelman. We got Myers.
Harry.
We got Harry. And we got Demarius Bird. They're in the locker room.
And you got the tight ends too.
That's all. He didn't even mention them. Didn't have to. What he said was, is those guys are in the locker room. That's all he knows. That's it. He's not gonna crap all over them. Yeah. He's gonna support them, because that's something that the other quarterback that was here didn't do the last few years. Just didn't. And I'm not bad-mouthing Brady. Brady's obviously he's here for 20 years. Love Tom Brady, but he's gone. So now we can think about other things. That's the first thing. I don't dwell on the fact that he's gone. I certainly don't.
Yeah.
The issue is that Cam Newton's come in and adds a different dimension to the team. I think the team's having fun. Yeah. I think the team's having success even in losses. And I know they don't look at that. They look at the loss or win. I get it. But I don't look at it as a fan that way. I look at it as, holy crap, we must beat Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. We actually might even have a chance here.
Yeah, it's like, holy crap, we actually are.
We beat one of the best teams in the league in the NFC. In the NFC. I mean, we beat one of the best teams in the league.
Holy crap, we may be better than I thought we were going to be this year.
Exactly. So that's really what my take is. And
yeah,
just an incredible performance, even in the loss. And we can talk about that because we're not. We're fans. We're not.
We're not players or coaches.
We're not playing.
Yeah.
So, and we're not playing. We're not coaching. But I understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Losses, but But if you look at how they played, how close they were to that game, it was exciting. I have not seen exciting football in a little
I'm
while.
not exceed.
I've not seen exciting in a long time. That's what I'm saying.
No, hey, listen. In all seriousness,
And that's how you spell it too.
I am in 100% agree. Exactly. I'm in 100% agreement with you. And the thing that impressed me most about Cam from week 1 to week 2 was his throwing. Was his throwing ability? Because I think I mentioned last week that I was a little bit concerned, watching him throw the ball in week 1.
I wasn't concerned.
In week 2, it looks so much better. He looked so much crisper. He was finding guys, and it just seemed more.
I think it was a different kind of plan, Rob. The plan was that he ran a whole lot.
They definitely wanted to.
He didn't throw the ball that much in the first game. That's why you didn't see a lot.
They definitely wanted to control his running.
When he threw the ball to Edelman on the side, on the side, do a little out. It was fine. He hit his man.
Even the deep balls.
Ryan Izzo, a great example. A pass to Ryan Izzo in the first game. That was a bullet, and it hit him right in the chest. As far as I'm concerned, I was not worried about the passing. The issue was he didn't pass a lot because that was the game plan, is that he ran.
Well, he passed a lot in game 2, and it didn't look half bad, and that was good to see. Yeah, that was really good. That was really good to see. Yeah, no, you can't run that much against Seattle, especially if you want to remain healthy for an entire 16-game season.
I don't want to see him run that much anyway. So
no.
I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I don't have a problem either. I did have a problem with some amount of play calling, though, and especially, and I want to get your take, the play call on the final play of the game, which saw Cam attempt to sneak sort of off tackle and get stuffed about a yard short of the goal line. So, Doug, let me hear from your perspective. Were you yay or nay on that last play of the game called by Josh McDaniels, and sort of what were your thoughts on it?
It didn't work out that time, but in 3 other times it did work out.
True.
So as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't a bad play call. Would I have called it at that point? It's tough to run against Seattle, but it had worked in 2 games. It had worked 3 times.
It worked in that game. I mean, you are correct. I mean,
it did work.
That particular run play had.
It did. The problem was that Seattle was ready for it.
Yeah, and that's why I think that maybe you could have gone with something a little bit different in that particular situation where you don't have any room for error. It's basically one play and that's it.
I seem to remember a Seattle Patriots Super Bowl. Let's see, where the opposite actually happened.
Oh yeah, can we point out that Seattle is damn lucky? Pete Carroll is damn lucky that the Patriots lost that game. Who the hell told him it was a good idea to throw the ball deep on 3rd and 1 when the Patriots are basically out of timeouts? All you need to do is just get a first down. You basically win the game. Hey, listen, believe me, I'm happy because we kept a timeout and it gave us the ball back. But what a stupid play call. What a stupid play call that was.
Yeah. No, I agree with it too, and you know what? I hate to say it, but football is not a perfect avenue either. Everybody makes mistakes. You know, if a play doesn't work, it might not have been a mistake necessarily in the call. It might have been the execution. So the issue is whether they executed it. They didn't execute it.
Yeah, that's
there was a block that didn't go, and actually, if you listen to Fourier, who is one of our old tight ends. He's on in the afternoon with Glenn. in the afternoon on the sports station in the afternoon that I listen to. He says that there was, if you watch the play, that last play, that if there was, they were all moving, all the front line was, the offensive front line was all moving. What happened is that there was a delay. Delay in the movement. And because there was a delay in the movement, that's where he got caught. So if the execution doesn't happen the right way, the play is going to go for crap. So it's executing versus the right play. It worked so many times before, but you have to have the right execution. So, but I totally understand what you're talking about. Sometimes you're like, why did they run? It's like, why did you just run on 3rd and 7?
Yeah.
You ran first down, second down, and you got nowhere, and you ran on 3rd down?
3rd and 11, let's run a halfback draw or something like that.
Yeah,
why?
What were you looking at?
3rd and 1,
tells you that
3rd and 1, final minute of the
idea.
game. 3rd and 1, final 2 minutes of the game. Oh, let's throw the ball deep, 30 yards down field when we're trying to ice the game.
I don't know what that was. I always thought that was.
If the Patriots had won that game, Pete Carroll, people are sort of glossing over because the Seahawks ended up winning that game. But Pete Carroll would have been.
It would have been the second time that Pete Carroll made a mistake.
Against the
lost them a game.
Against the Patriots.
Against the Patriots.
His old team, by the way.
No, exactly. I love Pete Carroll. He's great.
The thing that concerned me about the Patriots on Sunday was the defense, and the defense has sort of been the stalwart in past years. Well, the run defense too. But I think the defense of the passing game, defense of the running game. They could not get the stops they needed to. And listen, I understand that some of the pieces that we've had in past years are not there this year, like a Patrick Chung, like a Hightower. Guys like that are.
This is where we miss Hightower a lot.
Are out there. Yeah, I completely understand that.
And
but the fact of the matter is that you have to make plays and you have to win and sort of have that next man up mentality. And Sunday night, they just did
Bentley's not good enough, man.
They could not get a stop when they needed to. They were letting Seattle just continue to stay on the field offensively, continue to make plays. And even when they, got the game, even when they got close or even took the lead, they would allow Seattle to come right back down and put one in. So I think.
Yeah, hey, Robbie, don't be surprised if you see Bill trying to go after some running defensive guys. Because Bentley just does not have it
right.
Doesn't. He's small. Not that I mind small guys because, small guys are fine, but sometimes you have to be, kind of big and mobile. And Bentley just doesn't have it right now. I'm hoping he finds it, but he just doesn't have it. So, I'm not saying instead of a wide receiver. I still think I think we definitely need some kind of deep threat, although Edelman is now a deep threat. And interesting. Cam was asked about that today, and he said, "Well, the opportunity presented itself." I'm like, that's such a great answer. He's like, because you don't think of Edelman, you think of Edelman going, doing the square in kind of situation, doing the slant routes and stuff like that. And you think of the short passes because he's got legs and he's short guy. But for him to go deep, it just doesn't. He does have legs, yes, of course. I meant in the running sense, but yes, to play football, you do and have that I know of. But I think what it comes down to is that's what Cam said. Cam said right up front, he didn't even hesitate. He said, "Well, the opportunity presented itself, so I went for it. There it is." Preach, Cam. Preach, Cam. I am preaching Cam. Not as much as Wiggy, who wants to sign him for another 3 years.
I heard that. Yeah, that was quite surprising. It's like, after 2 games, let's sign him to sort of a max
Now.
deal here right now.
Right now.
Let's pull a Chris Sale and
Well, because he said if he gets him at the end of the year, it'll be more money. If he gets him now, it won't be $60 million. It'll only be $30.
Still, I don't know. I don't know if we have enough of a sample size to pull the trigger that quickly.
I don't have enough of a sample size, but my confidence is going pretty high with this so far. But
No,
again, I think we definitely need to beef up the only word I can think of. Beef up the running defense.
There you go.
Where's the beef? Exactly. Where's the beef? Definitely. I think we really need to do that. Yeah. And that's the first thing. And I do think that we need at least one more wide receiver. The issue I'm having is that I'm a little nervous about injury. And there's nobody else.
Yeah.
So I'm not confident.
You cannot afford to lose any receiver injury.
And I'm not confident in our tight ends because we have two that are rookies.
Unproven.
Yeah, and they're unproven. The others are unproven. So I'm not 100%. And I think there's a couple guys out there that they may be looking at.
Now, very quickly, do you think the Pats beat the 2-0 Vegas Raiders this weekend? What are your thoughts heading into that one?
It's not a tough one. They're playing
at home.
Very well.
It is a home game, so that's of course without fans. It does relate.
Okay, without fans. Okay, not much of a home field advantage.
Although I don't know how somehow they managed to make Seattle sound as loud as it would be with fans and without fans on Sunday night. It was wild.
They could do it. They could do it. I actually think they have a really good chance. I think just the way they're playing.
They have as good chance as any, I feel like.
Yeah. I definitely think they could do it. Are they gonna win by 4 touchdowns? No, definitely not. No, I think that the way they're coached, I love their coach. I think he's awesome. I just don't think that they. I think they'll win the game, but I think it's going to be closer than everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be very interesting to see again another sort of telling game to which way this 2020 Pat season is going to go.
Well, the other issue I have is that they got to do something about the run defense because I'll tell you that I can't remember the guy's name. Sorry, the running back.
Marshawn Lynch.
Ooh.
Marshawn Lynch on the Raiders? Oh, I thought he still was. I don't know.
No, he might be, but it's not him that's running.
No, you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't follow the Raiders that often. So I was going to look them up, but I decided. Anyway, we just got to find some run defense there. If we don't,
gonna have to go perusing down Route 1 there, into Rentham or into Walpole, and just get. Hey, you can you
Bobby
play run? Can you play run defense? All right, let's sign you up. Yeah,
Robbie does it.
It's funny though. Again, sort of behind the scenes thing here. It's funny to see you point that direction towards me because on my screen it looks like you're pointing the complete opposite way. But I realize that for you,
the opposite.
For you,
so if I point this way, that's you, right?
On my screen, yes.
Yeah, on your screen. Okay, so I'll point that way from now on. But on my screen,
if I point this way,
my screen, it's that way.
because like when you're looking at it, if I'm pointing this way, I'm pointing at you. If I'm pointing this way, I'm sorry. I was pointing at you on my screen this way, but I need to be pointing that way. I know. We're just going down.
Zoom freaks me out, man.
I always freak you out. That's my
Zoom does, not you.
Oh. I do too, but that's a whole different.
So do you think that they have a chance to win on?
Oh yeah.
I'm glad. I'm just glad it's a 1:00 game. Oh
yeah.
Oh, those
No,
8:30 games are killers.
I think they have a really good chance. I really do. I think they have a good chance of winning on Sunday.
Cool.
I mean, I think it's gonna be a close game. Like you said, I think it's gonna be
Yeah, I
closer
think it's
than
going to
the
be.
experts predict, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be fun to again. It's fun to watch them. It's been fun to watch these first 2 weeks. You're watching these sort of new wrinkles that they've been able to throw.
Did not expect this at all. I
No,
expected them
no.
to
That's what I'm saying. Like
absolutely
this
go
is
under the ground and not come out again. And they have not done that at all. So fun to watch.
they have risked it.
Actually, more fun because you don't really know what Cam's going to do.
No.
What I like is that he did get out of a couple of situations.
Yeah.
He did either run or just kind of float the ball, out to either Burkhead or. I just thought that's stuff that he was doing. He can get away, which I love. Brady would have just been, his typical stacked. He runs a little bit, but not too much. You don't want Brady running too much. Not that I want Cam running that much, but still, at least I know that if Cam's running, at least I know that he's a running quarterback. He's used to doing it. I know Brady is not used to doing that, but if he has to, he will. So it's a different kind of atmosphere. You want to know what the next thing he's going to do. You want to know what he's going to do. You want to see it.
Much different dynamic. I'm loving it so far. I'm loving the Cam Newton experience.
Absolutely.
So far, without a doubt.
Experience.
The Cam Newton experience. That's right. It's like it sounds like a ride you'd see like Six Flags or something like that. The Cam Newton experience.
Cam Newton experience. You ride around and
you'd be a defender.
You ride and then you run and then you ride and run.
You have to be a defender, just try to figure out where he's going.
Exactly.
But yeah, definitely should be interesting to see, how the Pats are turning around on Sunday, and again, another very telling game coming up against, like I said, a 2-0 Raider team. So remains to be seen. What's going to happen there. So we are now going to begin to sort of wrap things up on episode number 56 with our favorite segment. Well, actually, no, it's our favorite, but it definitely is up there. And that is our final thoughts for this episode number 56. So I'm going to kick it over to Doug. Oh boy, I'm sorry. Did I get you?
Yeah, kicked it over, man.
Yeah, kicking it right over. Doug, what are
is that a football thing or a soccer thing?
No pun intended.
Oh, okay, just check.
What are your final thoughts this week?
I got 2.
Okay, that was
figure out 2 and 2. Actually, that's 4 or 22, but I don't have 22 things. We can be here all night. So I only have a couple things.
Do you have 99? Do you have 99 problems though?
No.
Okay.
I don't. Do you?
No. I'm good.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to say.
We know it's 8-1 Baltimore. Oh, that's not what we were gonna say, but it is 8-1 Baltimore.
Hawks got to lose, man. We go up in the ranks, man. We go up in the man. Let's
winning, winners. We're not really
no
winners.
No, lose. I don't want to pick 8. I want to pick 2. Second pick.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that the NFL lost a Pro Hall of Famer this past week. Legendary Bears running back Yale Sayers passed away. He was 77 years old. If you want to see one of the best, you have to see the original because it was remade. But if you want to see one of the best football movies ever made, and it's the Yale Sayers story, basically, kind of how he is a guy named Piccolo, who is very, and it's around the time where it's a good time to see it, because it's around the time where tensions between white players and African American players were kind of crazy, and that kind of thing. But you find out very quickly that these two guys become friends, and I'm not going
It's
to tell
called
you
it's
anything
called
else.
Brian's Song.
Called Brian's Song. The original Brian's Song
Yeah.
is the one you have to see,
Yeah.
not the remake. I have not seen the remake. I don't like remakes, so I don't typically see them anyway. But the original Brian Song remake, the original Brian Song is a great, one of the classic football movies of its day and of today. Awesome. But again, condolences out to the Sayers family, and just I can't imagine what kind of football player he would actually be if he didn't. He had really bad knees, but he was an amazing running back. You have to go to YouTube and just and YouTube Gale Sayers and just watch him run. It's better than Forrest Gump. No, I'm just kidding. He was amazing. He was just an amazing player, an amazing guy too. Just a great human being. So again, my condolences out. Our condolences from the Sports Blitz.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, out to Gale Sayers' family. My second one is kind of a Cam Newton kind of thing, which is kind of cool. So Cam Newton decides that he's going to come into the Patriots and he's going to make some. He's got some nicknames for the guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard the. I don't know if I've heard these yet.
Yes. So what he did was when he's been with them for
I thought you were going for a second.
Now.
Can I be honest? I thought for a second you were going to talk about his fashion choices, which are on point.
Not going to talk about those yet. Not going to talk about those yet. Well. We haven't seen much fashion yet, but we're from what he tells me, he's going to.
Impressive. What we have seen
a little bit,
very
a little bit, but it's going to get better. So he came in, and he started to make some nicknames for people, for the guys, for the players.
Yeah,
unbelievable nicknames, and I only have a couple. I heard about one of those today, which he named in the press conference, which is great. So Josh McDaniels. His nickname is Mickey D. Mickey D's. I just love it. I swear to God, I almost rode my car into a tree because I was trying to go.
I'm glad that you did it.
I did it. It's a huge exaggeration. I really did, but it was very funny. It was so funny that I was laughing so hard that I actually had to almost pull over because I was laughing. There was nobody behind me. But I was driving home and I heard this. So I guess McDaniels, his name is Mickey D's, and Edelman is Highway 11. Highway 11.
Okay.
Is Edelman.
Fit in the number in there. I like it.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out some more of the nicknames he's got for people, some names, some nicknames he's got for people, and I'm gonna try to tell you on every episode, unless we have a guest, and then I'm on.
Well,
but yeah, so I just love the fact that he came in and he's relaxed, but confident, and he looks it out in the field. And I like the fact that he sticks up for his players. And he does. He is not just saying that he has a thing to prove. He's proving it right now. And you're going to see that in up-and-coming games. And that's a prediction that I have out there right now that you're going to see this. And you're going to be pretty happy.
We'll mark it down. We'll mark it down right now.
Mark it down right now, baby.
Mark the tape.
But I will come back with more nicknames as I find out what the nicknames are.
Got it. Perfect.
Robbie, what's your final thought for the evening? Speak tonight. What the hell's going on with me? What's your final thought for the evening, Robbie?
Yeah.
Hello, is this on?
Mine is a two-part.
Hello.
is a two-part final thought, and I knew
two-parter.
And I said I wasn't going to bring them up again this episode, but it is going to be Red Sox related. But it's kind of a bit of humorous Red Sox, if you want to call it that. So this past weekend was the final Red Sox-Yankees series of the season at Fenway Park. And the big story actually had nothing to do with the teams themselves. It had to do with the fact that during Sunday's game, a gentleman somehow managed to climb up and over the Green Monster and into the camera well in center field and actually got into the ballpark. There was actually a fan in Fenway Park.
Oh, right, yeah, they climbed up on the thing. Wasn't he yelling at the players or something?
He was basically yelling at everybody. He basically got up there and was like showing them the hats, like throwing.
Wasn't he throwing hats at them too?
Throwing things onto the field and all that good stuff. But
they want baseball so much they're trying to get into the stadium.
I just thought it was very interesting that we actually did have one fan in Fenway during this 2020 season. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. Don't know how he managed to actually get in there, but obviously it seemed like there were some things going on upstairs with this gentleman. So, but it did provide a little bit of entertainment, if you want to call it that, to the final Yankee series and actually final Yankee game of this 2020 season. The second thing was I actually last night did not go inside Fenway Park, so don't worry. But I did sort of.
He was actually the guy that was up on the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
On the hats and people.
Exactly. Just in disguise. But I actually went down to Fenway because my sister, who I may have mentioned on this episode a few times, shout out Sarah. She actually lives pretty close to Fenway, so we actually walked over to Fenway and sort of stood outside on Lansdowne and actually could hear them doing.
You had to pick on Facebook.
The starting lineups and the national anthem. We saw Wally sort of walking across the Green Monster seats. He waved to us. So basically, I was able to get the closest that I possibly could to Fenway for this 2020 season, and definitely, hearing the lineups and the anthem and all that stuff definitely brought on a whole wave of emotions. Hopefully in 2021 we can start to get back into Fenway as fans. A lot remains to be seen on that front. But I just thought it was very interesting, to at least be able to have, to be able to experience the Red Sox game day experience without actually being inside Fenway Park for one time this season, which is pretty wild. So, but don't worry. Again, like I said, I did not scale the wall. Shh, Doug, don't tell. I told you not to tell anybody. But and then to see Wally, not have Wally actually wave at us from the monster was pretty wild as well. It's sort of perfect timing there. But that's sort of just what I got. That's sort of wanted to throw it in there. Yeah, champions, definitely not this year.
Lose, Sox, lose.
4 more games left. Actually,
the Red Sox need to lose. They have a better chance of getting a better pick.
Okay. I got no comment to that. I got no.
I don't either. I don't know where that guy came from.
that may have been one of the more interesting 20 seconds on our show. We've had a lot of interesting 20-second clips, but that may have just sort of taken the cake right there. Anyway, so that's gonna wrap it up for this week's edition of the Sports Blitz. What?
Did you say do?
No.
You did. That's going to do.
That's going to do it for this
Oh,
week's
you didn't
edition.
say the it. You just
I
said
did
do.
say the it. I did say
Oh,
the it.
you
You need to listen.
Check it out. Check it out.
You need to put your listening ears on.
I have my listening ears on. That's why I mentioned it. I wouldn't have mentioned it if I didn't hear the it. I did not hear
You know what? Anyway, I'm just going to start to wrap things up here. 56 of the Sports Blitz.
Thank you for unmuting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But thank you as always, everybody,
Didn't
for
say the it.
listening. We'll check the tape.
Check out for the it.
Okay. So looking ahead,
We will be back.
we do have, yes, we will be back.
I pick things up and I put them down.
Yeah. But anyway, looking ahead to episode number 57, there is a chance we might be having a special guest on. Again, no promises because
chances
are, are up in the air. But we will, regardless, be back with episode number 57, and we do have a lot of exciting guests and sort of episodes coming up as we always do, and we're very excited for the near future of the Sports Blitz.
We do. The Red Sox need to lose.
Lots of good stuff coming. We will sort of recap the Celtics, and hopefully, maybe something can happen where we can be talking about a finals berth as opposed to memorializing the 2019-2020 Boston Celtics. We'll also talk
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to talk about the Celtics.
We will also talk more Patriots as they continue on their 2020 season, and so much more. So thanks as always for joining us, everybody. That's Doug. I'm Robbie. And we will see you next time for episode number 57 of the Sports Blitz. And have a good night and stay safe.
Yeah.